Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really unique take on Tube Screamer variant, the VERTEX Tone Secret. So the Tone Secret is a really unique take on a Tube Screamer variant because it is recreating this absolutely iconic pairing of a Tube Screamer into a cranked, mid-scooped super reverb. And not just a Tube Screamer, but a Tube Screamer that is boosting. So we're not cranking the drive, we're not cranking the overdrive, but we're cranking the output level, hitting the front end of an already cooking super reverb. And that is an absolutely classic guitar sound that you've heard on many of your favorite recordings. So let's take a look at what kind of controls we have, and then we'll play through some of the suggested settings from the manual. So we have a master volume here in the top left corner. That is just your overall output. Nothing special there. But we've got a pre-volume. And what that's doing is that is your input level. And as you crank that up, it's like hitting the front end of the amp circuit in here. So when you're cranking that Tube Screamer to boost the output level, hitting into the front end of a super reverb. That's what this knob is for. So as you turn it down, you're going to hear less of the amp characteristics because we're not pushing and hitting the front end of that amp quite as hard. The treble is a super powerful control there, and it's just really controlling that sizzle that you get from 10-inch speakers in a more mid-scoopy amp that's being hit hard and cranked. It's a subtle control. The last 10%, you've got a huge push. It is the first thing that I use when I want to shape the sound while using this pedal. Then we've got the mids, which adjust the mid-range frequency. Again, it's more of, into that Tube Screamer circuit, but it's a subtle control as well. Okay, it's controlling how much of that mid push you're hitting into the signal, giving you more of that singing saturated sound, not necessarily with saturation with drive, but with the harmonic content of bumping those mids. Again, the last 10%, you've got a big push. And the grit, it adjusts the amount of overdrive, and it's the knob on the right here. And this pedal, I mean, even in the manual, it says that it has about 50% of the gain that you would find in a standard Tube Screamer clone. And the reason is this is not trying to go for those exact replica of a TS9 sounds where you're cranking the drive pedal. But it's going for when you have the drive on just a little bit, but cranking the output level. Think SRV, think, Derek Trucks. He's more of a straight amp guy, but these are the sounds that you've heard. Those super reverbs were all over, especially some of the 70s stuff, but a lot of the 80s stuff as well. And this gets you into that territory without having to do the pairing of the amp and the pedal with the amp cranked, which is nearly unusable unless you're in the studio. So let's go through some of the suggested settings. Let's talk about the signal chain first. Playing this Mexican Strat, I believe we have a PAF, maybe a slightly hotter PAF in the bridge, and then we've got the Custom Shop Tex-Mex in the neck and middle. We're going straight into the Tone Secret, into my Smart Bell. It's a double overdrive special, set pretty flat, into the Little John Cabs prototype number 1 with EVM 12Ls. Miking with the Shure SM57, SE Electronics SE7, straight into the Apollo. It's a mouthful, but I want to make sure you know everything that's happening, that's contributing, to this demo of this pedal. Here's a clean sound on the neck pickup. It's pretty dry, it's pretty clean. to tune a little bit, but that's the straight up sound. All right, so let's go to the first suggested setting here. We've got what's called the cranked superverb. So we're going to take the pre-volume and push it up to about 2 o'clock. Same with the treble. Taking the mids below noon. I find that you need to push the volume a little bit on this to get, you know, a little bit of boost or unity gain. And then we're pushing the gain or grit knob up to about 2 o'clock as well. So here's the clean sound on the neck pickup real quick again. With the pedal engaged. It's got that sound, it's got that crank super reverb, especially hitting it hard. You can almost hear the low end start to fall apart a little bit. That's a really cool, really usable sound. Let's go to the next suggested setting. This is SRV's Vibe-verb. Overall, this is going to be a smaller sound. We're pushing the mids up a little bit. And we're taking the grit knob down just a little bit. This is going to be, like I said, a little smaller, a little gainier. Think later SRV. Like I said, it's got a little more mids. It's a little smaller sounding. It's going to implode in a different way. It doesn't have quite the chiminess. We'll get to the treble knob here in a second. Let's quickly go through these next suggested settings. We've got the ultimate screamer. And again, remember, this is not the full gain of a tube screamer. So if you think about the drive knob here, that's a lot less gain than what you would get on a tube screamer, set about the same. But this is the ultimate screamer sound. This is a really cool sound for that single coil bluesy thing. tube screamer the way that I would use it. More subtle, almost just lower on the gain and saturation than you think you want. It's like it leaves you wanting more. I think it makes you play a little different. Sometimes it makes you mess up like I did. But it is a really, really beautiful sounding, just low gain screamer sound. Let's quickly go to this balanced rhythm. This is the first time we're really messing with these center controls here, which I think really make this pedal what it is. This is a pretty low gain sound, but you get some of that tube screamer where you almost have in parallel the clean transient and the overdriven sound. It's a great sound, just mildly overdriven, right in the middle. That would fit perfect in a mix, just for some clean, strummier parts. So let's do this. We're going to leave the grit knob where it's at, and let's take a listen to each of these controls and just their sweep individually. So the pre-volume, again, we're thinking about how hard we're hitting the front end of a preamp circuit similar to a super reverb with a tube screamer. So cranking the output of the tube screamer, the input volume. So straight up in the middle. So we turn it down. You can hear that we don't have quite the saturation, and we're going to crank it up. Okay, we're pushing the amp a little harder as we crank the grit knob up as well. So pre-volume is all the way up. Grit, let's put it to about 2 o'clock. We still get some of that big sounding, amp, power amp, kind of really cranked sound. We're going to back that off just a little bit for the rest of this. Okay, straight up in the middle, we've still got that bigness from cranking the input level. Now the treble knob, here's all the way down. Pretty subtle. Bring it back to, let's say, about 2 o'clock. Starting to hear that chiminess. And that last 10%, we get a big push. But I find that if I take it just past that point where it really starts to shoot off, we get that nice crispiness, that almost jangle that you get from the mid-scooped super reverb. Okay. We're going to leave it there, actually. In the mids, we're straight up in the middle. Again, take it all the way down. subtle. But when we take it up to about 2 o'clock there, you can hear that tube screamer circuit start to kick in. And again, we've got this big push, the last 10%. So if we take that back down, again, just to the point before it starts to really shoot off, that's a good higher gain overdrive. It's not a high gain sound by any means. It's very classic, but that's one way that I've used this pedal. I'll show you an extreme setting and then more of a subtle setting. So an extreme setting, if you push the treble and the mids and the pre-volume up, you can get some pretty out there sounds for a tube screamer variant type of pedal. So that's a pretty extreme setting. But if we take the pre-volume and the mids just barely above noon and the treble kind of straight up, the treble is the first thing that I adjust on this pedal. We don't want too much drive. We get that clean amp with a tube screamer that's just barely adding any kind of compression or saturation, but it gives you that really nice touch sensitive feel. That edge of breakup sound, that's how I've most used this pedal, but it's really creative. And I commend Mason for venturing into a really specific niche thing, which is the sound of a tube screamer that's used more like a boost into a cranked super reverb, and recreating that in a 5-knob pedal that is super fun to use. It makes me think way differently than just a tone knob. It makes me assess, what am I trying to change in this circuit lineup here. And like I said, it's a super unique, highly underrated, creative tube screamer variant. I think those are all the adjectives that I could cram in there. I think highly of this pedal. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, please like and subscribe to this new channel, share it with others. I appreciate all the support. I love hearing you guys in the comments what rigs you have built around some of these pedals that I've demoed. I love answering questions, And those of you who have found me on Songfinch, if you would like me to write a custom song for you, you know, for your loved one, your partner, Songfinch is the way that I will not only write but record and produce a custom song based on your story. You can find me there. The link's down below in the description. The Tone Secret you can find on VERTEX's website. I know they sell in Sweetwater. And until next time, I've been Colin. All right, so the camera died. Just changed keys terribly just then. I apologize for that. And again, just the creativity that I feel like a pedal like this sparks is invaluable. I didn't record a fucking thing on the pedal cam. Literally, here we go again. Got to reshoot the entire thing. Holy shit. All right.